Personal, intimate images plastered online for the world to see, and you didn't know it, much less agree to it. It is now estimated 1 in 12 women in the U.S. have experienced what's commonly known as revenge porn, or the non-consensual sharing of sexually explicit images. That's according to a 2020 study by Florida researchers. It found the frequency of revenge porn is rapidly rising and doubled since 2016. In Florida, revenge porn is a crime, but is the law working to protect victims and punish their perpetrators? Florida 24 investigative reporter Katie LaGrone has more on this impact check.
Madison Conradis will never stop talking about it.
Yes, I'm a victim of revenge porn. I hate that term because you hear revenge porn and you automatically think disgruntled ex-boyfriend, and that's not always the case, and that wasn't the case with me.
Instead, it was a casual friend from college who she never had an intimate relationship with that left her personally exposed and publicly humiliated.
I found out by waking up one morning to just floods of messages. Hey, just so you know, there's like photos of you everywhere.
For Madison, the images stemmed from a professional photo shoot she did in 2011 for a modeling portfolio. Sexy, she describes, but not pornographic. Then the photographer's account got hacked, several of Madison's images stolen. And by 2015, she says, photos she never intended for the public to see were being posted and shared online hundreds, even thousands of times.
They would send photos to my boss, my parents, my friends, my sister, like literally anyone you could think of, to try to just like harass you and like make your life like miserable.
Florida, like most U.S. states, has made revenge porn a crime. Known formally as sexual cyber harassment, the law was passed in 2015 and makes it illegal to electronically distribute sexually explicit images of a person without their consent. Last year, after one lawmaker became a victim herself, the legislature unanimously voted to strengthen Florida's law, doubling fines and adding penalties for stealing or manipulating images. But across the state, we've discovered Florida's revenge porn law is rarely resulting in criminal prosecutions.
Using state court data we obtained through a public information request, we discovered since 2017, less than 800 people have been criminally charged with sexual cyber harassment in Florida. That's about 8 people per month statewide, with some of Florida's most populous counties logging the fewest cases. Hillsborough County about 80, Palm Beach 31, and Broward just 9 since the law took effect 8 years ago.
Sadly, in a lot of these cases, people don't know that there is even a law in place to protect them.
Stephanie Myrone is a West Palm Beach attorney who specializes in cyber sexual harassment and stalking. Revenge porn, she says, is prevalent.
I get calls almost daily from all over the state, all over the country.
But she's not surprised the number of criminal cases citing the law is low. For most of her clients, they just want the images taken down, something a civil injunction can accomplish without the costly, time-consuming, and often emotionally draining criminal pursuit.
They don't want to have to testify again. They don't want to have to drag this out. They don't want to have to, be deposed or talk about this or face it.
Jurisdictional challenges also stall criminal cases, says attorney and victim advocate Alyssa D'Amico.
How many times I've had someone come and say, well, I talked to this law enforcement department, but I live here, and they said I have to go where the perpetrator lives, and I went there, and they said, but you don't live here. So it's like pinball, and the victim is the pinball.
While efforts to create a uniform federal law are in the works, these attorneys say educating local law enforcement about the state's existing law is still needed. For Madison, it took several visits to her local police just to get a report filed.
Why?
I think that a lot of the people that work in law enforcement don't necessarily know all of the laws.
Leaving Madison to build the case herself with help from her twin, an attorney. The sisters managed to unmask Madison's online stalker while discovering he had done the same thing to 5 other victims, including a then 14-year-old girl.
I think we both knew that we could make a change.
The case eventually got the attention of the FBI, and in 2021, 6 years after Madison's pictures first surfaced online without her knowledge or consent, Christopher Buonocore, an acquaintance from college, was sentenced to 15 years in federal prison for cyberstalking and sextortion.
It doesn't seem real sometimes, but it feels good to be where we're at now, where we're, on the side of healing. We've put the person in jail and we're advocating now.
Starting, she says, with educating victims and police about a law that's been on the books in Florida for years, but is rarely showing up in court.
In response to our findings, Florida Senator Lauren Book, who championed recent changes to this law, acknowledged the law has not kept up with the realities of a digital world. She believes a federal law is needed. With photojournalist Matthew Apthorpe, I'm Katie LaGrone with an Impact Check.